back to the World Championship for professional drone racing teams. We are the Drone Champions League. It's race day 2, our return to the beautiful Lake Zurich with our 7 incredible teams all fighting for points in Split 2 of our 2024 season. I'm Matt Andrews. Welcome to the action. We have 3 matchups for you today, starting off with the American team of Quad Force 1 and AK Drones, Hyper, QT FPV and Leviathan, a team with a lot of experience but have been having mixed results as of late. Their opponents are the DCL Wildcard Team. Dragakva and West are joined by Super Spyro and Bambi, who are pilots that managed to get the Wildcard Team to their first ever finals. Winner of Split 1 finals, it's Cyclone Racing, Jbox, the Ice Cheetah, Neon and Yayu. They're second in our leaderboard at the moment. They're going up against a team who are on a bye week for the first race day of the season. It's Mach 1, our all-female drone racing team with Labeba, Nasahova, Zoe FPV and Hologram. Our third matchup has the Japanese team of Raiden Racing, bringing in Vincent Mayan, Valprim, Batu and Yuki. Some incredible pilots well known on the international drone racing scene. Their opposition are the China Dragons. It's Hosu, Gabri Prince, Zepita and Ion FPV. They could do with a big win over Raiden, as they suffered quite a big loss to their rival Cyclone Racing last week. The colours show you who's racing who on race day 2. So 3 matchups, each one has 3 races, 2 pilots from each team race each other, then the other 2 from each team race each other. Then the DCL Big Heat, with all 8 pilots in the air at the same time. Every one of those races is worth 4 points to the winning pilot, 3 to the one in second, then 2. And then 1, you get nothing if you're 5th to 8th place in the Big Heat. Whichever team scores the most points after the 3 races gets 3 points towards the season, 1 point for a draw. Nobody wants nothing. And the track is the same as we raced on race day 1. It's our new track Panoramic around the brilliant location of Lake Zurich. So we start with 6 Foxeer gates and you do 5 corkscrews between them, flying through one, then looping over to come through the next. A split S, go through the top and then back, then a hard right 180, and then over the top another little corkscrew there. This is a ladder, go through this gate, spiral round and come out through the one above it. Round the back of the boathouse here near Rapperswil Castle before we head to the land. These goalposts are another 180 turn. There's 2 more here as we then go down the spine through this tunnel of arches. Climb up to then dive through that gate. That's going to be tricky as you don't want to hit the wall making the turn afterwards. You go over Rapperswil Castle's courtyard and come back for the second lap. We've got 3 to do. So let's send our first matchup into the sky. Quad Force 1 against our Wildcard Team. AK Drones and QT FPV for the American team in blue. Super Spyro and Bambi for the Wildcard Team in red. We'll head towards our massive corkscrew for the first time. Bambi going in a lot deeper. A bigger route around from the first to the second one for him. That's got him just slightly behind his teammate Super Spyro, who is in the mix with QT FPV and AK Drones. Early on in the battles here, all of them going around the ladder there nicely. QT FPV just leading AK Drones, then Super Spyro back over onto the land and through the goalposts. And now we go down the spine for the first time today. QT FPV piloting his Stars and Stripes quad, as the American team have. Of course, this is AK Drones following down at the end of the first lap. QT a bit high on the entrance to the first one. He's clipped the inside of it and he's in the water. AK Drones going to fly over him. QT finds himself respawning at the back. And Bambi at some point has managed to pass his teammate Super Spyro. So Bambi second, Super Spyro third. This is Bambi's view as he chases towards the boathouse. Just a little bit slower than AK Drones has been round here. Now to the goalpost, switch back. And as Bambi enters the spine, AK Drones is exiting the other end. And Super Spyro and Bambi, 2 great pilots that helped the Wildcard Team make it to the Split 1 finals. The first time a DCL Wildcard Team has ever been in an end of Split or season finals. Can Bambi try and catch AK Drones for a win for the Wildcard Team? Well, QT FPV's got something to say. Don't count him out yet, as he has taken both of the Wildcard Team pilots by surprise and is up in a second. After his dip in the water, that sent him right to the back. It's QT now on the chase. Oh, but not for long. as he hits the ring hard and is passed by Bambi and the goalposts. Oh, it's upset his rhythm quite a lot. Is he going to be able to retake second, or might he even lose third to Super Spyro? Yes, he has. He's behind both of the wildcard team. AK Drones with the win. Who will hang on for second? Oh, Super Spyro just manages to bounce it into the gate ahead of his teammate Bambi. QTFPV, oh, he featured in every position at some time, but he ended in last place. Well done to AK Drones, his teammate, who saves Quad Force 1 there by getting the maximum 4 points for them. Wow, what a lot of drama in our first race of race day 2. Very exciting stuff. You watch Super Spyro as he makes his final turn. He hits the left side of the gate. And if you're going to bounce, you want to bounce in, not out. Now Leviathan and Hyper will take on Chug Akfa and West. Now, of all of these pilots, Leviathan has been in the DCL for the longest. Hyper with some experience too. And we saw Hyper having a few problems on race day 1, but this is looking excellent from him as we see how he devoured the corkscrew. That was great work, and so was that. Hyper out in the lead here. Oh no! No, into the ladder climb. Oh, that's cost him a place, but it's to his teammate Leviathan. Oh no, in the hurdle around the back of the boathouse. That's surely going to cost him another place. Leviathan, his teammate, going into the spine. Hyper really back into the battle again. We're on board with West. Hyper almost nearly took him on that turn. West hits the top of the dive gate, has found his way through, but it took him a little bit longer than it should. Yeah, he's been passed by the other pilot. So Levi starts lap number 2. Hyper in second, then Chug Akfa, and West was in a good scrap with the both of them a lap ago, but is in 4th place at the moment. Levi chasing Hyper again. That's all really good work. Both of them safely through the ladder this time and around the boathouse. This is Hyper now, going back onto the land with the goalposts. None of these obstacles causing him a problem this time. He'll lead everybody into the second time through the tunnel. Through the dive gate is good, and so for Levi as well. Both of them over the rooftops. Oh, Levi aggressively diving the other side of the courtyard. I like it. Now, lap number 3. Both pilots still trying some very confident moves. It's Hyper, then Levi for Quad Force 1. Chug Akfa, then West, who's a little bit further behind for the wildcard team. But as we've said before in the DCL, never give up. What we're seeing here is just a little bit of overcorrecting going on for Leviathan. Just a turn and then maybe just a little bit of an adjustment afterwards. It's not quite as smooth as it could be for him, but it's still solid and it's still second place for now. Hyper with the lead. But Leviathan's not got much of the castle to himself. Look there, you can see Chug Akfa's right on the chase with him. Hyper's in him first. Oh, it's so close. Chug Akfa almost coming in with him. But it turns out to be 0.06 of a second behind him. West finds himself at the back. This man, Hyper, is the winner of race 2. Wow, another race with lots of drama and some mistakes some pilots would like to forget, like this one from Hyper into the ladder, which also upset his route around the boathouse. And West was right up there until that dive gate. Yes, unlike Super Spyro earlier, who bounced off a gate and went in. That's an example of bouncing off a gate and having to do it again. But next up is our first DCL big heat of today. So all the pilots going to race it again, all 8 of them at the same time. So any mistakes like West or Hyper there, you want to just get them out of your mind and get on with the chance of seizing the points for your team. Can the wildcard team cause a big upset? You've got to maintain your focus with so many drones in the corkscrew at the same time. Everybody out of there safely, but Chug Akfa hits the next gate and goes to the sky. Leviathan hits part of the ladder. He's been passed by all his teammates and West from the wildcard team, leading them all. Hyper is the first one back onto land. We're on board with West here, who's going to see Leviathan swing straight across him. And Leviathan's losing places now as he's had another crash. Hyper, clean out in front, doesn't know the chaos going on behind him, is being led by the wildcard team in second place with West FPV. The charge behind him, AK Drones, QT FPV. Here's West corkscrewing. Hyper's still just ahead of him. And in the last race, we saw West really battling really strongly until that dive gate was a problem for him. So now, is this the race where he can get an outright win for the wildcard team? You'd have to say Hyper in front is hard to catch, but on this course, for most of these pilots, you can't really feel that anybody is necessarily going to get through it cleanly from this point onwards. There's the dive gate, not a problem this time for West, still in second. And QTFPV flashes across him as they go over the top of the courtyard. Don't count him out. This is the final lap. Hang on to your seats. Hyper through to corkscrew, hits the last gate of it. QTFPV here is battling with West, now getting very close to taking the lead from Hyper. Over the top, hits that gate. He's got a lot of wildcard team pilots suddenly in front of him. They haven't given up either. He now has to battle past them. Meanwhile, Hyper needs to keep it together over the land. Not much of this lap to go. Hyper down the tunnel. West is in the chase again in second place. No problem with the dive gate. This is great flying from both of them, but surely at this stage, it's Hyper who wins it. West is second. Super Spyro takes third. QT's just behind him. Everybody's home in quick succession afterwards. 0.7 of a second is all that separated second place, third place, fourth place, and breathe. I feel a few of our pilots might be glad we're not racing this track on race day 3. Great work from everybody to keep it together in the corkscrew when all 8 drones were battling through there. It was Jagakfa who bounced high afterwards. Leviathan nearly put it in the water, did put it into that gate there. Hyper put it into the top of the 6th part of the corkscrew. There, you just see him drop down. Didn't go in the water, did go through the gate. That meant he hung on to the lead. QT was chasing for it, but hit that part of that corkscrew on the 3rd lap. And you see all those red drones there that were jostling around. We've got to give some credit to the Wildcard team for putting up a really strong fight against Quad Force 1 here. Remember, these are new pilots trying to make a name for themselves. Quad Force 1, well, they are much more experienced, and they'll be pleased to get a win, but they'll have expected to do it by a bigger margin than 17 points to 13. Next matchup for today, Cyclone Racing against Mach 1. We'll start this off with the Ice Cheetah and Yayu taking on Lebeba and Zoe. Cyclone Racing were the best of the new teams who joined the DCL in 2023, and at the Split 1 finals at the Yas Marina Formula 1 circuit earlier on this year, Cyclone Racing were the champions of Split 1. They met SDT, the Spain drone team, in the grand final, beat them on a big stage in our circuit at Abu Dhabi. An amazing event and a great win for them. That, of course, makes them the team everyone wants to beat in Split 2. Yayu is leading for them. The Ice Cheetah will be now leading for them as Yayu hit the castle after the dive gate. So that's Cyclone handing the lead from one to another, and lap number 2 sees them leading both of the Mach 1 pilots back out into the corkscrew. The Ice Cheetah just hanging on ahead of Yayu there. Unfortunately, you can see Lebeba and Zoe FPV are a whole obstacle behind right now. Still flying, but Cyclone are definitely leaving them behind. Yayu goes back into the lead, just sneaks around a couple of these corners a little bit tighter than the Ice Cheetah. They've raced against each other for Cyclone so many times. Yayu is now cleanly around the wall that he hit on lap number 1, so he'll take that lead as he dives down under all 4 of the hurdles to go on to the next lap, which is the final one. And they're into the Foxier set of corkscrew gates with, unfortunately, Mach 1 nowhere to be seen in the background. Yayu through the split S, the 180, and he's on his way now as the Ice Cheetah has bounced off of it. He's still racing, still chasing Yayu, but Yayu's the first one back onto the land with a bit of a gap between him and the Ice Cheetah, and I'm curious to see how he might do the tunnel, because he tends to drift over to the right-hand side. There it was again, but he's through that cleanly, so is the Ice Cheetah. The dive through the dive gate, no problem for either of them. Cyclone coming in with a 1 and 2. There it is. And they are comfortably ahead of Lebeba and Zoe for Mach 1. They'll pick up the 3 points. Cyclone, of course, will pick up the 7. The win belongs to Yayu. That's another one in his tally. He's got many of them in his career with the DCL. And be pleased to get another one for Cyclone. Another experienced pilot who's having a few bumps around his track, though. Here's the main one. Fortunately for him, the pilot who passed him was his teammate, the Ice Cheetah, who stayed with him until he tried to take this too tightly. Bit of a slow recovery, but doing the right thing. Make sure you make it through the gate. Second heat, Neon and Jbox will race against Hologram and Natahova. Hologram and everybody away from the blocks. Neon and Jbox for Cyclone. The first one's into the corkscrew very tightly. Natahova, though, has gone through the first gate and then just massively off course. This is a brand new track for this split. All of our splits and our seasons present our pilots with new tracks and very little time to learn them. I wonder if Natahova and maybe the pressure of being in the race, just a mistake there is where to go. Oh, that's a disappointing start for Mach 1. Neon, on the other hand, is into the dive gate. Oh, and into the wall afterwards. Oh, a bit like Yayu earlier. He's still flying. Jbox, his teammate, has just taken the lead from him, like the Ice Cheetah did in the first race to Yayu. That's such good tight flying out of there. But as they come out of the 6th gate, very different routes to the next obstacle. One up to the right, one flatter to the left, and then they crossed over in it. No problem for either of them, though. Neon, ooh, that's a tight and a slightly crazy turn as you duck under that hurdle. I've seen 1 or 2 pilots do it. It's not the safest way. It is pretty quick though. Ahead of him, Jbox still in the lead through the dive gate without any problems. Rapperswil Castle's courtyard, beautiful to fly over. Also an amazing place to visit in real life, as we did when we had our World Championship finale there for real in 2018, surrounded by this beautiful Lake Zurich. Now here is where their paths were different last time. Yes, Neon and Jbox starting to take different routes, and Jbox chasing and hitting part of the ladder. We've seen that trip a few people up. So Neon will be the first onto the shore. Jbox will be coming up to that now. I think their team owner, Breton, who's done such great work with them in just the first year, I think he may have told them, you don't have to go crazy here. Look, we're coming up to the dive gate and Jbox just drops through it. Didn't invert or attack it. Safely through. Neon's in first. There's Jbox in second. The Mach 1 will be coming around to take third and fourth. Could have been close between Neon and Jbox at the end, but it didn't matter. It's still the most points you can get from race 2, with the lion's share of them going to Neon. So let's take a look at the routes around the corkscrew the first time. You see Natahova just exited so high, and Hologram is a little bit wider than the 2 Cyclone pilots were. Neon catching that wall. Yeah, that dive gate's a problem for a couple of people. Like that ladder as well, which tripped up Jbox. But it was a 1-2 for them. Big heat time. I really hope we see more of a challenge from Mach 1. They seem to have been just a little bit slower than Cyclone Racing throughout. Not maybe one specific place, but just overall speed. Let's see if they can attack and get off to a stronger start. That's Yayu doing such a great job through the corkscrew. He's first one into the split S, the 180 and the corkscrew after, and then the ladder up. It's all good for him. Jbox is very close to him. The Ice Cheetah also for Cyclone, not too far away. The 3 of them onto land. Jbox just sees Yayu ahead of him as they head into the spine. And in fact, Neon is doing great work and taking third from his teammate, but it's still Cyclone in all top 4 positions, and Mach 1 are getting left behind again. Oh, Yayu! On the turn at the start of lap number 2 around that building that caught some pilots out off the blocks. It's tripped him up there instead. That's Neon completing the corkscrews and trying to catch Jbox, who's just got a little bit ahead of him. Yeah, Jbox. Good strong flying from this guy as he makes it through the ring and into the goal posts. And you can see that even though Breton may have told him we don't need to go crazy here, we've got a good lead. And they know that this matchup is going to be theirs unless Mach 1 can come in at least first, second and third. Well, as you can see, they don't hang about. They still want to race each other. Jbox is first into the corkscrew. Oh, just clipped his first turn. That sent him a bit wide. Yayu bounced off the bottom of the first gate. What's going on? They're under no pressure at all. And they're still bouncing off the inside of gates. Just trying to take everything too tightly. There's Neon doing that scary turn that he can manage. Oh my gosh. Well, Jbox leads all of his Cyclone team into the tunnel, through the dive gates, over Rapperswil Courtyard, and it is looking like a clean sweep of points. Here it comes, 1 and 2. Jbox then Neon. It's Yayu coming in third, and the Ice Cheetah completes the 4. Maximum score for Cyclone Racing out of that. All 10 points from the first 4 positions. All going to the team in purple. And they are going to sweep Mach 1, led in the big heat by Jbox. This is an unusual place to crash. Yayu just clipping it. Just going too tight as he was heading into his 3rd lap there. Jbox not giving himself a lot of room to spare around the dive gates. Ultimately, leading all of the team to a clean sweep victory over Mach 1. Maximum score 7-3 from each of the individual heats, and then the big heat is all theirs. Raiden Racing started today 1 place behind Cyclone Racing in the leaderboard, so they'll want a big win over the China Dragons. Visem Mayan and Batu will take on Iron and Hosu. On board with Ion FPV for China Dragons, chasing Visem Mayan. Oh, and hitting the very first gate he comes to. Oh, Ion. Absolutely dead stopped into the water, hitting the first part of the corkscrew, and you've got big vision on it as you're heading towards it. He is going to be kicking himself for that. Just got to shake it off and get into this race now. Visem Mayan is leading his teammate Batu. Now, Visem Mayan has been in the DCL for many years and won many, many races. Batu, that we're on board with, is new in the DCL in his first split. Oh, he's turned too soon around the flagpole and hit it instead. still in second though. Hosu's gaining on him. Ion still finds himself down in fourth. Let's take a look at Bartu corkscrewing. I have to say, for a new pilot in the DCL, that is confident work. Split S and then leaving himself a little bit of room as he makes the obstacle after that. That's good work for him. Visemayan, of course, out in front, as we've seen him be so many times. Bartu doing a good show here, though. He's lost a little bit more ground on Vincent, but of course he doesn't have to catch him. He's coming in very flat to the dive gate, extremely flat. Oh! Now, usually people go a lot higher and dive through it with a little bit more speed. He just went straight at it, a little bit more direct. That's bold. Made it work. Got clear air between himself and the leader, and more importantly, between himself and the China Dragons pilots in third and fourth. Mayan flying very well. Bartu again here, coming up to the ladder. Too close to the climbing part of the ladder, but not hitting it square on like some other pilots did, so he's still flown round it and managed to maintain most of his speed. Interesting how that turn has caught so many people out today, though. Here's this Mayan getting another win to his name for Raiden Racing, and Bartu should be really pleased with a strong battle there in second place. Ion at the end is going to come in third, having passed his teammate Hosu, but we never saw much from either of them during the main race. It is a clear win for Raiden Racing in the first battle against China Dragons. Oh, the China Dragons will be disappointed to be so far behind both Bartu and this man, Visem Mayan. It started with Ion hitting the first gate and going into the water. Here's where Bartu went flat. Look how low he is compared to Mayan heading to that dive gate. Very interesting to see that route. I'm not sure why Mayan went so deep into the corkscrew there, but he had time to spare. And here's Bartu brushing into the side of the ladder. Yeah, it didn't put him off his line, and in a quick thinking recovery kept it going. Didn't let it bother him, and that's what you have to do. Valprim and Yuki will now take on Gabri and Zepita. Away we go. Raiden in yellow, China Dragons in orange. Yuki the first one into the corkscrews. Zepita pushing up past the other pilots. That's good work from the young pilot for China Dragons, and he's up into second, and he's all out of shape in the second set of obstacles. He's gone from second to fourth, make that third, as Gabri's just crashed ahead of him, and now Gabri is going to pass him and put him back down to fourth. Wow, there's all sorts of action going on there. Yuki, though, out in front, doesn't know anything about it at all. Yuki's the more experienced of the two pilots for the Raiden team. He's been with the team for quite some time. Valprim put in one of the most legendary battles we've ever had with Vincent Mayans when he was up against him at the end of one of the races last year. And after that, Raiden picked him up. And now Valprim is passing Yuki as Yuki's hit that sixth gate at the bottom, and that's messed up his line completely into the split S afterwards. It's Valprim who seizes the opportunity, though, who's the other pilot for Raiden, and he might get away from Yuki as he's flying particularly well here. China Dragons still not having an impact. Gabri and Zepita still nowhere to be seen in these battles. It's still Valprim or Yuki swapping places 1 and 2. China Dragons, yeah, on a dangerous sign of maybe getting swept out here. Here's Yuki, 3, 4, 5. Oh, now very short recovery there. He almost went straight onto the split S before he'd done the last part of the corkscrew and gone through the sixth gate. We might take another look at that, but I don't think it's going to trouble him too much. Valprim has got a little bit further ahead, but China Dragons are still not close enough to do anything about second place. Oh, another little flatter route there. It is slightly more direct, but it just makes the dive so much trickier. There's Valprim, another win for him. Yuki in second, that win could have been his. Gabri, Prince and Zepita third and fourth. 5 seconds behind Yuki, about 7 seconds between all of them. Bit closer than some of the races we've seen today. The winner, of course, it was Valprim. And let's take a look. Zepita for China Dragons was brilliant through the corkscrew, pushed up into second. Unfortunately, that bump in this second set of obstacles stopped him. Now watch Yuki really closely after this loop. Yeah, you see the correction he had to make afterwards. He wasn't going onto that sixth corkscrew. He was about to go straight on ahead instead. Our final race for today, it's the big heat. China Dragons need first, second and third just to tie it with Raiden. Bartu hits the house. Oh, Bartu, I'm sorry to see that, but the race is not far ahead of you. Look how busy it's getting into the corkscrews. It's Raiden with the best positions coming out of it. First, second and third are all theirs. Vicen Mayan just sees Valprim slightly ahead of him as they head to the boathouse, and Valprim gets caught on that turn. It's Yuki now who's moving past him. Oh, he deals with one, then he's got another to contend with. He stays in the lead. Mayan in first. It's Yuki in second. Valprim's got to fight his way back through the field again. He's currently down in 7th. China Dragons, they've got Zapita in 3rd. Ion in 4th. But remember what I said, they've got to get at least 1st, 2nd and 3rd. So Raiden needs to hang on to these positions. And they're looking likely to do so. Mayan and Yuki. Mayan just slightly ahead of Yuki at the moment. There's the ladder finished. Now to the boathouse. Yuki tries to go on his left, tries to go on his right. This is Yuki's view. Yuki's got past Vincent Myers. Oh, and hits the goalpost centre. Square on. Back into second. Mayan still in front of him. Another good recovery from Yuki, but I haven't seen anybody hit the goalposts in that position before. There's Mayan coming down after lap number 2. Valprim has gone from 7th to 3rd. Zapita's still 4th, then Gabri is 5th and Ion is 6th. 2 China Dragons pilots just outside the scoring positions at the moment. And while I was telling you that, Valprim has gone up into 2nd past Yuki. He's on an absolute charge. Mayan is still in the lead. Can Valprim catch him as well? Well, he's determined to. Look at him go. Of course, though, it doesn't matter which of the Raiden pilots wins this other than for their own personal pride. It's not the China Dragons, and Raiden needed a big win here to keep up with Cyclone. Zapita is actually the best of the China Dragons pilots and stops Batu from making it a 1-2-3-4 for Raiden. A good strong showing from Zapita in that, not the most experienced of the China Dragons pilots. This man, though, for Raiden, he does it again. After Batu's good showing in race 2, he'll be disappointed he started race 3 with that crash. Never really saw him from that point onwards, whereas he had looked like he was gaining and getting back into the thick of the action, so clearly upset his rhythm and he never really got it back together again. Yuki here is chasing Vincent Mayan as he had done for a lot of this race. Completes the corkscrews, no problem this time. But this is unusual. Split S and then just far too tight. It's a 180 turn. To be honest, I'm surprised he was so eager to turn left when they had the race in the bag. Raiden Racing together, they get a massive win over the China Dragons. That's going to hurt the orange team. 23 points to 7. 1 point short of a sweep, thanks to Zapita in the big heat. I said they had to keep up with Cyclone. Well, they all but did. Quad Force 1 are going to need some bigger wins to keep up with those other teams. STT were on a bye week, which means that both Cyclone Racing and Raiden Racing have gone up past them. The Wildcard Team have even moved up past the China Dragons at the bottom. Quad Force 1 will have a real challenge when they go up against Cyclone next time. Raiden and STT could be very closely matched, and China Dragons and Mach 1, 2 teams who have struggled with the start of the split, that could be very close too. I'm Matt Andrews. Join us for all the action when we see you in the skies.